you're only here once, might as well make the most of it. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to reach out to? And like really just maximizing that time. If you're our age, go on a solo trip, book your hostel on Hostel World. In Thailand, cash is king. They do cash with almost everything. Not a problem. I brought my cards. I go to the ATM. Both my cards are not working. They do not take any money out. I just basically go off recommendations. Like I meet people in the hostels and then I'll ask them what they really liked and then kind of go there and then go there, you know? So I'm just crowdsourcing my planning, basically.
Welcome to episode 5 of the inspobrew podcast, where we stir passion and sip innovation. The premise of this podcast is I'll be having coffee chats with inspiring guests who are living outside of their comfort zone. So I can't believe I made it this far. To be honest, I wasn't thinking I'd be consistent with this podcast, but this is the 5th episode and it's better than ever because we have 2 cameras and also 2 microphones. So the setup is just getting way better. So I want to give a huge thank you to, first of all, Toli for helping out behind the camera, and then also big thank you to you, Rachel, for being our newest guest on the podcast. I'm super glad you could make it. Rachel right here is inspiring in so many areas. We can't put her in one corner. She's a CS and finance major at the University of Waterloo, an entrepreneur, solo traveler, freelance model, writer, and the list goes on and on. So I'm really excited to dive into this episode and get to know you a little bit more, Rachel. You ready?
I'm absolutely ready.
Okay, so the first question I want to start by asking you is, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
Gosh, I don't know if this counts the word is hyphenated, but out of the box.
Okay.
I would say I don't think I'm what you expect, and I kind of like that about myself, so yeah.
That's amazing. That's a good, yeah. I would definitely agree. Because in this podcast we'll be diving into so many different topics, and it's a little bit different to like the other ones I filmed, which focused on like a one niche area, so this is going to be great. So we're going to start off with, I know you were born in Newfoundland, right? And then you moved to Calgary, Alberta. Your family is there right now?
Yes.
Yeah? And so what made you want to then move to Waterloo, like study at University of Waterloo? Were there like other options for like in Calgary?
There were.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to go to the University of Alberta because I got a scholarship there, and I was like, listen, this is pretty good money. I can't turn it down. But at the end of the day, my mom was the one who convinced me, and she was like, look, like Waterloo, it's an insane opportunity here. You have 6 co-ops. It's like a bit further too than Alberta, because if I went to U of A or like I stayed in Alberta, it would have been more like I'm centering my life in Calgary and Edmonton, which is cool. Nothing against them. I love where I grew up, but I kind of wanted to see more and do more. So I'm really happy I got the chance to come out east and try that.
Cool. So you mentioned that you worked at 6 different jobs, and all of them were in a different city in Canada. So can you give me a rundown of what these jobs were?
Ooh, I'm not quite sure if that's true anymore because I've repeated Toronto twice.
Okay.
But yes, I absolutely can. So my first job ever, I was 16 years old, and I went on like exchange to Quebec over the summer, and they set me up with a job in like a rural thematic garden. So it was all francophone, middle of nowhere basically. And I was just pulling weeds 9 hours a day. So that was the job. Taught me a lot.
Oh my God.
The next one was when I was 17. I went to the University of Alberta for a summer with like the Wisest research program, and I was like a chemical engineering intern. So did some research there. That kind of taught me a lot about engineering, but also that I didn't necessarily want to pursue it. So then that's kind of when I switched my career path. Then on to grade 12, Party City in Calgary. That was COVID summer, so I was like, might as well pick up a job and do something with my time. Then I went on to my first co-op here at Waterloo, did consulting at like a small boutique in Ottawa. Then EY in Toronto for audit. Oh boy, this list is getting a little long, I'm so sorry.
No, that's amazing.
What?
You have so much experience in like all these different areas.
Yeah, let me know if I'm boring you.
No, you're not.
Third one was BCI, which was like a private equity internship in Victoria. That was incredible. Vancouver Island, I can't say enough good things about. Then went back to Toronto, TD.
Okay, we'll actually dive into like some, especially the private equity analyst in Victoria, BC. We'll definitely dive into that some more. That's, wow. And like the one that stuck with me, like the pulling weeds one, like what are the qualifications for that?
That was character development. Qualifications, I mean, it was pretty much just that you had to speak French and could weed. I mean, it wasn't too much else beyond that.
Well, okay, so you know how to speak French then, like, and then what other languages do?
I know French? Like a little bit of Chinese, but like not enough to like say I know it, so I usually keep that one out.
Okay. Do you have a favorite city you worked at?
Ooh, yeah, it would be Victoria.
Yeah,
hands
you
down
would
Victoria.
return to Victoria then too?
Oh, I think that's tricky because I think right after graduation I kind of want to live in a bigger city and like experience like the faster paced life, more of a corporate lifestyle, but like later down the line, absolutely with Victoria. The nature there, the beauty, it was very serene.
And did you notice any like significant differences in workplace cultures between the cities?
That's a good question. I think it's hard for me to compare because I was working different jobs too, so it's not exactly the same field. Like private equity is naturally more fast-paced than, let's say, consulting was at my boutique. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think with EY, I was also during busy season, so that was long hours. Yeah. That was a similar grind, and it was winter, so everything felt more depressing. And then, BCI, I think, was a good balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go into your co-op term, your 4-month co-op term in Victoria, BC. What did you do as a private equity analyst? Exactly.
What did I do?
How would you describe it in simple terms for anyone who wouldn't really know what it is?
I'll TLDR private equity. So basically, it's kind of like, when you buy and flip a house, you kind of renovate it and then you sell it back to the market. That's what we're doing, except with large companies. So we buy usually fractional ownership of big companies, either from an IPO or a private sale from another large asset manager, and then we will kind of fix them up or at least passively hold them or do something with them for about 5-ish years, and then we sell them at a profit. That's the idea. So with BCI, what I really liked about it was that this money wasn't just going to some rich person's pockets. It was actually going back to the people of British Columbia, the teachers, the government workers, stuff like that, because it was the pension fund. So that's what we were working for, and that was really cool to me. But to go into the day-to-day, it was I guess 3 main categories. First off, PowerPoints. We'd make presentations to the investment committee and to our team on what we learned or what we were doing that week. Then Excel, so that would be financial models, or maybe finding comparable companies to see oh, what could we exit at, what have the other people sold their companies for. And then the last one would just be kind of team meetings, the general stuff.
And I'm sure you were able to meet lots of people during your co-op term. How did you approach networking and building connections within BCI and the broader Victoria community?
I think I approach it with the mindset, especially for a form of co-op, you're kind of only here once. At least for me, I don't necessarily want to repeat a co-op no matter how good it is, because I want to keep on learning and trying new things when I have this opportunity. So it's you're only here once, might as well make the most of it. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to reach out to? And really just maximizing that time. So with me, it was coffee chatting anyone I found interesting at BCI, which was a lot of people. And luckily I worked at a company that's super supportive of that. They told all the interns, go ahead and please do this. We actually have a no saying no to coffee chat policy.
Whoa.
So worked out really well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel that you're really stepping outside of the comfort zone with networking, or you're kind of used to you love chatting with new people, or with this something?
See, I do love chatting with new people, but I hate the idea of networking or asking somebody for something. Okay. So I'm gonna be honest with you, whenever I do my coffee chat requests, I'd down a huge coffee, just go 3, 2, 1, go, and I'd just get them out, cause then it leaves a little bit less time to be nervous, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, nice. What was it like living and working in Victoria for 4 months? Can you share some of your favorite experiences or discoveries about the city?
I think my favorite thing was that even though I'm out west, Calgary originally, it's nowhere near the same climate or scenery as Victoria. Okay. So being on an island, you really experience the island life, and there was a lot of more downtime, I think, than I'd ever had before. I tend to fill my time with whatever I can at the moment, which is hanging out with friends, doing schoolwork, getting ahead. It's always go, go, go. And in Victoria, I feel I took a step back and I had a chance to just kind of breathe and relax and enjoy what was around me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, the city or, the island itself was very, wasn't, go-go, city, Waterloo right here is a little bit more relaxing then, or in a sense?
It definitely felt less pressuring. Okay. And there was so much, nature. There's a lot of, hiking trails. I went crabbing for the first time, which was so fun.
I read on your blog post, the crabbing.
Yes, yes.
So you caught, lots of crabs then,
Caught lots of crabs, maybe not. The first time I went, we caught 2. Oh. And I think that was the best time we ever had. Oh my gosh. The really funny thing, I have a funny story to share about this one. So when we first went and picked up the equipment, it was only about $30 for the entire set. But the guy at the shop was they love chicken bones. If you have chicken bones, go and, feed them. And I was okay, well, I haven't really eaten chicken in a while, and I don't love to cook meat. I'm a little scared with food poison myself. So what we ended up doing was going to KFC, getting a large bucket, eating it, and then feeding the bones into the trap. And everybody else on the dock was what are you doing? Because we were catching more, because we had to, oh, by the way, we had to release some. The 2 that we caught were the ones we took home, but you can't catch female crabs. You can't catch crabs that are too small because they need to breed, stuff like that. So we did catch more than that. We just had to let them go. But everyone was what's your secret? You guys are a first timer. We've been here for years. We were KFC.
That's the secret, KFC.
That's it.
Oh my god. That's so cool. Wow. Yeah, crabbing. I've never heard of this, pastime activity before. That's really cool. And do you have any advice for any students considering pursuing co-op opportunities or internships in a new city? Because how is it getting, so you got this through Waterloo Works, or like through your own, like through LinkedIn, like networking through, how did you get this job?
I knew a BCI from
Okay.
like one guy who was like a little bit older than me, and
Okay.
one of my friends. They both
Yeah.
worked different terms, like one after the other.
Yeah.
So it was on my radar.
Okay.
And also just being out west, I knew a bit more.
Mhm.
So I applied externally.
Okay.
They also had a posting on Waterloo Works, I believe, though.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because like it would be like, isn't it so cool to have like co-ops and like so many different like other places? Yeah. So what advice do you have, like, if of people who want to like find co-ops outside of, for example, Kitchener or Waterloo? It's a little trickier. I guess you gotta know the right people, maybe.
Yeah, I think it depends. I'd totally say go for it.
Go,
That's
yeah.
my general advice to anyone who's looking to pursue it, because there's really not that much to lose. If you think about it, like, this is a period where you're changing every 4 months anyways. You might as well change to somewhere you've never seen and do things you've never done, right?
Yeah.
So I still really miss the people I met in Victoria, and I think it really shaped me as a person. So highly, highly recommend.
It's Victoria isn't like expensive, like.
Yeah, it's not as expensive as Toronto, which kind of shocked
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
But oh well,
Okay.
tis life.
Yeah, tis life, yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna go into solo traveling, because you've done a lot of that, right? So what do you enjoy most about exploring new destinations on your own? Because it's different compared to with others, right? You have more freedom. Yeah. What's your favorite part about solo traveling?
That's
What would you
very
say?
true. I think my favorite thing that it's really flexible, and you can
Okay.
kind of just go with the flow. Like, if you're having kind of like a rest day, like you want to just chill, you can.
Yeah.
Or if you meet some really cool people, it leaves you flexible and open to kind of join them and like see where that goes. So I enjoy the flexibility the most.
How do you approach planning for a solo trip, from choosing a destination, arranging accommodations, activities? Does it take you like months? Do you like plan months prior, or what's the
Honestly, this might be shocking, but I don't do much planning at all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going on another solo trip actually. In May, I'm probably going to end up in Spain, but again, I actually don't even know. Like, I think my general plan is like I'll figure out where I'm going, like the specifics of like, okay, if I need to take a train or a plane or whatever it is, either like immediately after booking, or like if
Yeah.
it's in between, maybe 2 weeks before.
Okay.
But the actual like day to day of what I do, like usually that gets figured out like 1 or 2 days before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's very like spontaneous. Maybe.
Very
Yeah.
spontaneous, and like I usually travel during off peak, so like that's why I can do that. But
Okay.
yeah.
So would you say then you're less of a like, do you like planning? Do you still like planning, or do you kind of prefer?
I kind of like discovering it the way it
Discovering
is.
the way it is.
Yeah, because with my technique, you could say, I just basically go off recommendations. Like, I meet people in the hostels or like the trips or like whatever I'm doing in the day,
Yeah.
my first day or two there, and then I'll ask them what they really liked, and then kind of go there and then go there, you know? So I'm just crowdsourcing my planning.
Oh my
basically.
god, crowdsourcing. That's such a good. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Solo traveling can come with some challenges. Can you share a time when you encountered a difficulty, like during one of your trips? Maybe was it like challenging?
Yeah,
so-
I'll share a pretty bad story.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, sorry, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So basically I went to Thailand when I was on exchange in Australia. And I went in the middle of the school year solo, because all my friends were busy with school. And it was awesome, except for when 3 days in I realized that I had no more cash, which shouldn't have been a problem, because when I traveled Europe, I was like, okay, I brought way too much cash. Like, I was bagged up on cash, and I was scared it was going to get stolen, right? So I was like, why not just go with less and use card more? It turns out I should have done my research, because in Thailand, cash is king, and they do cash with almost everything. So, not a problem. I brought my cards. I go to the ATM. Both my cards are not working. They do not take any money out. And I go to a different ATM and another one, and, like, same thing is happening. Like, both of them are just locked down for whatever reason. So I start freaking out, because I'm like, oh my god, I'm down to like my last like 50 baht, which is $2, like basically Canadian. And luckily I had made a few friends in the hostels. Like, this was day 3, so obviously these friendships were not very developed, but I had one friend spot me 2,000 baht, and then I had another friend who I was able to transfer money from my Australian account to her Australian account, and she had the card there, and she was able to take it out for me. So really, really stressful. I highly don't recommend that, but I was really grateful for those people for helping me out.
So yeah, it was good you had like other people, because if you like were nervous to like come up to people, or like nervous to make these connections, then it would have been harder to do everything. So it's, yeah. It's
Oh
good
yeah,
you're-
I would have been on my own. Yeah.
Whoa, that's a very cool. Do you like tell this story to like people? Like, or do you, like, it's a fun, like, little, like,
Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when it comes up.
Yeah, when it comes up. How do you prioritize safety while traveling alone? Are there any precautions you always take?
I think biggest thing is just don't look like a tourist. Like, whatever it is, like, if you need to stop and look at something, like, go into, like, a McDonald's or, like, don't just stop on the side of, like, the road. Like, you know, just, like, little things to make yourself blend in more with the culture and with the people around you, I think go a long way. But also, yeah, don't be scared to ask for help. Like, I think a lot of people are actually really friendly and willing to help.
And do you have a favorite destination you visited solo traveling?
Ooh. Okay, it actually would be Thailand. Despite that happening, it was an incredible trip overall. And Portugal. Those are my two.
Wow, okay. What is one experience from your solo travels that you could never have had if you were traveling with others?
Yes. Okay, I'll give an example of that. I was in Europe, and I went to London specifically at one part of it, and I was thinking to myself it'd be really cool if I were to, you know, secure a co-op, work in London in the future, maybe for a 5th or 6th internship. So before I went, I started reaching out to random people on LinkedIn, just, you know, sauce a girl a coffee chat, please. Like, I'd love to learn more about you and your career, all that. And miraculously, quite a few of them replied. So I had about 5 coffee chats set up during my time there, and it was kind of like a networking trip, I guess, as well as like doing the fun touristy stuff on the side, which I really liked the balance of, and I got to learn so much about the people I was meeting. But it also kind of broke up the day a little bit nicer, because when you solo travel, I find sometimes it can get a little bit lonely on like the days where you're not really interacting with that many people, or like not that deeply with people. So it was nice to like have like those like more like structured, like, okay, like we're really getting to know each other here sessions with people. So
that's a really good example. And yeah, you're right. Like, so I feel like if you were traveling with like friends, for example, or family, that would have kind of almost like stopped you from like reaching out and like actually having these like chats and everything.
Totally. And it kind of would have offset their plans in a way, right? So yeah.
Exactly. What advice would you give to someone who's planning their first solo trip? Like, they're nervous, they've never done like traveling on their own.
Hostel World is great for hostels. That's your best friend. The reviews are very legit there.
Wait, by hostel you mean like, wait, what do you mean?
It's like an app, but it's also a website. So when you book there, if you're, I'm assuming like the solo travelers our age. So if you're our age, go on a solo trip, book your hostel on Hostel World. And it's like an orange app. And the reason why I say book on the app is because you can add like yourself to a group chat for like the city there, or for people who want to go to museums or people who want to go to clubs. And like there's like a bunch of like ways to connect with other solo travelers who are in the city at the same time as you. So I met a lot of my friends from Hostel World on the trips. So I definitely recommend that.
Okay, so we have finished with the solo traveling questions. Now we're going to be moving on to questions about being an exchange student. So you were an exchange student studying at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. So let's get into learning more about your experiences there. So what motivated you to become an exchange student, and how did you decide on the destination program?
I think I was always really eager to do an exchange program. Like as soon as I looked into universities, I was like, this is something I want to do, because if you think about it, you're paying the same tuition, you're learning the same stuff technically, so you might as well do it somewhere you've never been, and go somewhere and like exploring that off time. So I definitely was always eager to do it. And why Australia? I mean, to be honest, I was considering moving to Australia after graduation, maybe not permanently, but for like, 1 or 2 years. So I wanted to see if it was the right fit for me. And I think an exchange was a really good way to do it, because I was thinking, Australia's so far. It's like a 2K plane ticket. I might as well stay a long time if I'm there, see if I really like it. Yeah.
What were some of the biggest differences you noticed between the University of Waterloo and Monash University?
I think with Monash, they had a lot more diversity in their student population because they're from Australia. Like a lot of their international students come from Asia. So I met a lot of people from countries I'd never really interacted a lot with before. So like that example, that like Malaysia, there's quite a few Malaysians, Sri Lankans, stuff like that. So that was really cool to learn more about them and like their background. I think in general though, Monash was in Melbourne, big city. So I definitely felt the difference between big city school versus Waterloo, where it's more like student city. And I think with Waterloo, what's really lovely and what people don't appreciate enough about it is the walkability of it. Like, I love that everything you need is within a 10-minute square of where you are, essentially. And, like, all your friends, groceries, clubs, libraries, everything. Whereas with Melbourne, it was really cool to have the big city, and I loved getting to go to the big museums and the art shows and festivals that were happening in the downtown core. But it was a lot of time commuting there, and it also felt like the campus community wasn't as close-knit, so...
Okay. What would you prefer though? Like, would you want to study? Could you see yourself studying Monash, or?
No, honestly,
Waterloo?
no.
Yeah,
I'm very
Waterloo's-
happy I had my
yeah.
exchange semester, but I like it
Yeah.
a lot more here.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
How did you balance academic commitments with exploring and immersing yourself in the culture of Melbourne? Like, yeah, so how did you, because you still wanted to, right, explore the city and, like, was it, like, really busy with classes?
Yeah. Honestly, academic commitments is a heavy term. I probably put the bare minimum effort in, which for me looked like maybe 5 hours a week on school. I didn't attend class. Like, listen, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying this was my experience. Didn't attend class for the most part, unless I wanted the socializing experience. Handed in all my assignments aligned. With that, like, I had a lot of free time. So what I did with that time was explore the city, went to a lot of museums, festivals, like I mentioned. Picked up a couple jobs, actually. That was really interesting. And did a couple trips. So I like the way I spent my time. Still passed all my classes, so worked out.
That's so good. Because, okay, yeah, and I was reading the blog, and you're talking about some of the jobs you had. You were, wait, list them again. Like, one of them was, I know, like a model, right?
Model. That was number one.
You a car, something to do with car.
Yep.
Yeah, the car dealer.
I was a car salesman.
Oh
Trivia host. I was a data fluency instructor, a brand ambassador, and a UGC like digital creator. Yeah.
What was your like favorite job out of all of them?
Oh boy, I honestly loved all of them.
Yeah.
Modeling I think would be my favorite and the biggest one I did too, just because you met so many cool people. Every day was like a different experience on set. You kind of never really knew what you were walking into, even when you read the brief. So I love just getting to be a part of so many different creative teams and also some really cool products.
And what I'm interested about is the car salesman. Like,
oh yeah,
what did you do for that?
That one was funny. So that I kind of got through the same modeling site as I got the rest of these from. It was like a freelancer site, I guess. But with that, I was basically one of the girls that stand in the mall and was like, hey, like, you want to test drive? Like, look at our new car. And the car is pretty sick. Like, it was, have you heard of BYD? No.
Not really.
Okay, I don't actually know if they're in Canada yet, but they had just came to Australia when I was there. And they're basically like a Chinese electric car company. And they make the batteries for Tesla. They're like the #1 EV seller in the world, I think now, is what I read. Like, they've surpassed Tesla in sales.
Oh my God.
So it's only a matter of time, I guess, before they come here. But anyways, enough with the sales pitch. Yeah, I was just one of the people who stood in the mall. And, like, it was a really fun time because, like, people would hear my accent. They'd be like, oh, my God, like, where are you from? Like, we'd get into, like, a side conversation about Canada. But, yeah, love that job.
Did you kind of have to know a little bit about, like, the car you were, like, kind of displaying? Yeah.
Yep, we had like a 2-page fact sheet that we had to memorize.
Wow.
But I definitely did not know. Like, I learned a lot about cars on that job, and plenty of people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, look, I am a car mechanic. Like, this is, you know, like they teach me about the car, and I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm all ears, right? Like, if you want to sell my car to me, right?
That's so cool.
But yeah,
That's so sick. Wow. And like through these jobs, like, did you just like, how did you get these jobs? Was it like resumes or just like talking with people? Were you like constantly like trying to like trying to find these?
it was all applying online. I think
Applying
Australia,
online.
one thing about them that's somewhat unique to Canada is that, like, they pay more for casual jobs, and there's a lot more flexibility with them. So it was like an in-demand job market for hiring, first of all. And with that in mind, I also, on that freelance site, it was super easy. Like, they basically make it just like another model job posting, except it'd be like BYD car sales, like sales host.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just submitted with my modeling portfolio. I guess that's technically a resume for this type of job.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of modeling, this is like the final topic we want to go into. So what initially attracted you to the world of modeling? Because did you start at a young age, yeah? Or like how old were you?
Fairly young.
So what
I
made you want to start?
started at 14, I think.
Okay.
I was always really tall. Like, I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
on the podcast, but I'm 5'11". And yeah, like, people were always telling me, like, you should get into modeling, you should play basketball, like all the regular, like, tall people things that they get told. So we did. We looked into it. Me and my mom signed up at like a local modeling school. And I didn't end up signing with that agency, but I did start pursuing it seriously from that age.
Okay.
And I had an agency for a bit in Calgary before moving out here.
And so speaking of agencies, so you started with an agency and then you went into freelancing. What made you choose to go into like freelancing? Do you see like what advantages do you see with like transitioning that? Or?
Totally. I definitely think there's advantages to both.
Yeah.
I think if you're younger, starting out with an agency makes a lot of sense because it's kind of like a tick in the box. Like, you know, you're moving in the right direction for your career and that they know what you need to do to advance at the right stage. So that's really reassuring. And they're also vetting people for safety, which is really important as a younger model as well. But as someone who's been in the industry for a while, like, I know how to vet for safety, and I really appreciate the freedom of getting to book my own jobs as they come with the people I want to work with, instead of having to go through an agency, have them say yes or say no or come back to me with like some sort of different answer. So I think freelance is the right thing for me for now. But yeah.
Are there any misconceptions about the modeling industry that you like to address based on your own experiences?
Misconceptions. What are the common misconceptions?
I feel like, one of them I can think of, like, you have to like really like diet, and you have to like restrict yourself from certain foods if you want to continue getting these jobs, and like.
Okay, I never had to do that, but that's not necessarily a misconception.
Oh,
like,
it's
unfortunately, that's somewhat true for certain agencies and certain markets.
Okay.
It really varies, though. Like, for example, in Singapore, like, you kind of have to be like a 24-inch waist, 34-inch hip, which for most people I think is about a size 0 to 2, and for most people isn't necessarily healthy to attain, right? So unless you're very young, you probably would have to diet more. And likewise, if you go to a market like Milan, they also really like really slender girls.
Okay.
So it just depends on the market, right? Like, that's what they're interested in, but there's also plenty of markets that cater to a variety of sizes. So hopefully, luckily, it's like changing, but yeah.
Do you see yourself like continuing with like, is this like is a side gig kinda? Do you like see yourself continuing it? Do you really enjoy it like that? Yeah.
Yes, definitely as a side gig.
Yeah.
I think with Waterloo it's a bit hard, right? Because you're always on form of school, form of co-op. There's no real time to squish modeling in between. So I kind of do it in the off sequences, or like when I'm on co-op, perhaps on the weekends and stuff. There's no real modeling in Waterloo,
That's true.
or at least not as much. So tend to have a quieter time in school, which I enjoy.
And then, so you model like clothes and like different products, right? What are examples of some of the things?
Ooh, okay. One of my favorite jobs, I worked for the backpack company, the Arctic Fox one. It's called Fjell Raven. And I did kind of like one of their special art collections. Like, they wanted to feature it in Melbourne's like Hosier Lane, which is like a graffiti alley. So we shot some really cool images there. I also did some for like a company called Cool Shirts that I really like. The team was just so cool. They were very entrepreneurial. And like, it's technically just a t-shirt company at its core, right? But like the way they marketed it, the way they branded it, it was so cool to learn about. So yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so you mentioned you started a dog sitting business in grade 6, and then you participated in the Junior Achievement Company program. How did these early experiences ignite your passion for entrepreneurship?
Dog sitting, yes, that was technically my very first business. And that came out of the fact that I wasn't able to have a dog when I was younger. My mom said no. But she did say, look, what you can do is set up an ad on Kijiji. We can take care of other people's dogs when they go on vacation. And you can make a bit of money at it. And also, get rid of the dog eventually at some point. So that's what we did. I charged $10 a day, so it was a very, very slim profit business. But it was really cool to like have that initial experience. And then with Junior Achievement, I think that was really what kicked it off, because I participated in that in grade 11 and grade 12. And for those who are like not familiar, it's like a company program. You get together with like a group of high school students, like maybe 20 of you. You meet at like a company location every week, and you make a company from start to finish. So that's like making the product, creating the branding, sourcing the product, doing whatever it is, and then eventually liquidating the company at the end. So that was definitely my kicker. But yeah.
So that gave you a really great introduction to entrepreneurship then, and then you started realizing that you really liked this whole process then?
Yeah, I love Junior Achievement. I think that was one of my favorite things I did in high school. And coming out of it, I was definitely like, I could see a future in entrepreneurship.
That's amazing. And you said, so you also had your own like jewelry shop for a little,
I did. Funny enough, I'm actually wearing one of the rings today.
So nice.
But yes, I did that for a bit when I was in Victoria, actually. Unfortunately, I had to stop the business just because I ended up going to Europe for a month after, and then Australia, and it's very hard to ship orders when you're hostel hopping every 2 days. But like for the couple of weeks I ran it, it was about 8 to 10 weeks. It was doing really well. So
that's so cool. That's amazing. Okay, so last question. You're graduating in 2025,
I am indeed, hopefully.
So what's next for you? Like, where are you envisioning you're gonna be? Like, what we're doing?
Ooh, great question.
What do you hope to do?
As of right now, I'm going to do a consulting internship in the summer in Toronto, and I hope I get a return offer from that, and if I do, I'd probably take it and live in Toronto for the next bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see where life takes you.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Well, it was so awesome. I feel like, I would especially loved hearing about all your experience with like traveling, going to so many different places. I'm sure you want to continue like with your traveling. Yeah, like
absolutely.
Exploring. How many countries in total have you been to so far? Do you know?
Ooh.
Like,
I actually don't know the number off the top of my head, but if I had to guess, it'd be like 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, and the next what next country do you want to like
Ooh.
visit? What's your top
I'm
favorite?
going to Switzerland in April.
Okay.
With the
Ooh.
school, actually. It's like a study trip.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go to Spain after, and probably one more in the middle, but I just don't know yet, so we'll see.
That's so awesome. You're able to study like in so many different places too. Because I feel like just studying in Waterloo can be really boring and
That's
depressing.
fair. That's fair. I've been really fortunate, I
Yeah.
agree. But at the same time, it's made me appreciate Waterloo all the more. And now I'm kind of getting a little bit sad. I'm getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Like I'm in 4A now, so there's really
Yeah.
only one more semester
Uh-huh.
here, so.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode. We definitely stirred passion and sipped innovation. And like you said in one of your vlog posts, everyone you meet has something they can teach you. And we definitely learned a lot from you, which, yeah, this conversation was super unique, super fun. And thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you.
So-
Appreciate it.
Okay, bye everyone.
Yeah.